Hi, it's Michael Kerr here, presenting Small Business Banter. A healthy micro and small business sector means a successful economy and a more vibrant society. Small Business Banter is about helping regional business owners better prepare for current challenges, but also for the next stage of business success. I'm Michael Kerr, founder of Kerr Capital, advisors to business owners. Each week, I interview a fellow small business owner or an expert, and they share their stories, their lived experiences, the wins and the losses, and their best advice to help you, the listener, get the most you can from your own business. Small Business Banter is brought to you from the studios of 104.7 Gippsland FM and is heard across Australia on the Community Radio Network. And thanks also to Kerr Capital, supporters of the show. So welcome into another edition of Small Business Banter Community Radio and Podcast. My very special guest today is Matt Davis from the Queenscliff bookstore, the Bookshop at Queenscliff. No, I've got to get that right. I should have read my notes better, hey? So on today's edition, what we're going to chat about is Matt and Jayne, his partner, wife,
yeah,
experience in leaving Paris to buy a bookshop in Queenscliff, Victoria, which is, I think, is a hell of a move. It's a really important business in the cultural infrastructure of the region. So what we're aiming to do is get Matt to share some of his experience in the process of buying a business.
Sure.
We'd like to encourage more of that, so we see more tree change, more sea change, and more vibrancy in some of these regional communities. So, Matt, can you just perhaps give us a minute or two on your personal background that led up to buying the bookshop at Queenscliff?
Yeah, sure. I guess the short story is my wife Jayne and I were living overseas. We were living in Paris for a long time. We had our daughter Frankie there and put her in school. We sort of set up our life, I guess, in France. I'm a musician, Jayne's a writer, and we worked in those things, but we also worked, sort of our money work really was in advertising, copywriting. So we're freelance copywriters in English for French brands, which sort of supported us and enabled us to do our sort of creative work, I guess, the stuff that we love to do.
Yep.
So Jayne was working on her first book and I was making records with my band over there. Our daughter Frankie was a trooper. She's a great kid, resilient kid, but we weren't sort of loving the school system, I guess, and the Parisian life for a kid it's not great. The city's sort of built for adults, and kids are sort of put in creche really young. And,
right.
Start school at 3, full days, and just both being Australian, we kind of just thought, oh, this is not really the childhood that we had, and Frankie was fine, but because that's all she knew.
Yeah. But you just felt like the time was right to...
Well, we just knew something was better, so we just sort of, we decided to move back, and I guess we were tossing up moving back, really.
Yeah.
We were going back and forth a little bit, but to permanently stay here I was wondering how to do it. And I guess the thing I said to Jayne was, I think we should move back, but the only thing is I need to find something that's meaningful to do, because it's great for Frankie to be here, but I need meaning. We both need meaning. Jayne had her books to write, but I kind of needed something professional,
So sorry if I can... was this... So we'll get to how you found out, the business you bought was for sale, but did it at first glance kind of offer you the opportunity to bridge making a living and running something that was, creative.
The bookshop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the idea of, well, once we saw the bookshop for sale, I thought, oh, hang on, there's something that's got real meaning, something I can sink my teeth into. And we give Frankie this beautiful, like, idyllic childhood by the seaside in a small town where she knows everyone. It hit both marks, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what got me. That was the thing. Even though it was a bookshop in a country town is a very humble kind of proposition. There's not a lot of money in books anyway, generally.
Yep.
And then you put it in a town of 3,000 people. So it's
crafting a living.
It's a small operation, but I liked the humility of that too. I thought that's a really beautiful, gentle thing to do, and it has. I had worked in a bookshop.
So you had exposure to bookshops.
I'd worked in a bookshop as a young person in Melbourne, in a few shops. I knew the business. It's an antiquated business that hasn't really changed in the 20 years I was out of it. It's still at its best, it's still a hand-selling, one-on-one, recommendation-based business.
Yep.
So it's really social and it's really human, which I really like. It's old school. It's old-fashioned.
Yeah.
So there's lots of romantic sort of notions about it that I like, and if it can, I thought if it can kick out, a decent, almost decent salary for one, then great. Let's do it. And Jayne can work on her books and I'll do music on the side and we'll go from there.
And so you'd figured out your financial requirements, that you ended up thinking that this business could meet those financial requirements of a family of three. But can I just go back a bit? Did you set out to find a bookshop particularly? Did you set out to find a business in a particular location? No,
it was total fluke. We were living here. We were living in between here and France at this point in time.
So you had exposure to Queenscliff?
Yeah.
Okay.
We bought a house here. We're doing 6 months on, 6 months off. So we knew the town. We knew the bookshop. I didn't think of a bookshop or another business to buy, to be honest. It was just that I saw the ad. I saw it come up and I thought,
yeah, wow.
Hang on a second. And I've said this before to other people, but I showed Jayne. I saw it on Facebook and I showed Jayne. I said, check this out. And she said, oh, no, they're going to sell it. I hope someone good buys it because it's an important institution in the town, you know. And I turned to her and said, yeah, us. It was my first reaction as soon as I saw it. I thought, we're going to buy that.
So that's pretty...
It was fluke.
Serendipity.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And that happens sometimes.
It does, yeah. It's that instinctual moment where you see something and you think, oh, that's it.
Yeah, yeah. And it probably, came at a time when, you were looking and to come back to do something else to facilitate that. So there it is in a place you know well.
Yeah.
How many other businesses would you have considered, say, hospitality or anything else, or was this just the kind of top of the pops in terms of a kind of business? Because there's only one of them, unless it's a second-hand bookstore. But
I've often had fantasies about hospitality. I love food, so I would have considered something like that, I think, but I had no experience in it. And so that would have made me really nervous. And I think there's lots of terrible examples of people.
There's there's moving parts in all businesses, but at least you kind of knew some of them.
Well, books is just, they don't go off. I knew the trade. It's gentle. Hospitality is intense.
Yeah.
There's no cleaning up. I just thought this is perfect. I don't think I would have considered anything else, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. So part of what we're trying to do is kind of make it real and possible that someone, for whatever their reasons might be, to make a move somewhere new and to do something different through buying a business. And we don't want anyone to be reckless and buy something they're clearly not capable of, but you kind of want to hold on to this idea that there is another way. And that's, I believe that small business can be that for individuals and for families.
There's no doubt. Yeah, this is the this has been a total game changer for us, having this business and coming from the arts, being a creative person, really not having any idea about where the next sort of paycheck's coming from for years and years and years. And then suddenly you've got this business that just will tick on and over, just having that sense of stability. You never know what's around the corner. Like, we bought the business and 3 months later there's a global pandemic. You never know really what's going to happen. But
you hear 3 years on or whatever that.
Yeah, but
that was out.
In a way, I felt a kind of a blessing for us, because we really saw what the bookshop meant to people in the town and in the area, and it gave me a chance to sort of figure out what it is and how to run it, and without sort of being pressured, I guess, by day-to-day interactions with customers. It was just like shut the door and figure out, okay, how much stock do we have? What are the books that people actually want? What does this bookshop mean to people? Okay, let's go from here now. It was a blessing, really, in a strange way.
Yeah, look, it's a great way to reflect back on it. And, we're just chatting before this, and, I started a podcast and a community radio program through COVID because you had time to, think about things.
Yeah, there's lots of opportunities in that.
Yeah, did the, we talked before we got started about the cultural infrastructure of any community and how we need to have these. So I want to get into the second half, more of the mechanics, not the financial detail, but I just want to let people know the kind of process you went through, and how that how someone else could think about going about buying a business. But did it weigh on you that? I think you knew the owners of the
we were customers of the shop, so we knew them. We knew the shop, we knew the town, we knew the owners. Yeah.
And was there a sense that they wanted it to go to a good home as well, or
no doubt? Yeah. I think when we put our hand up, they were glad because we were locals. We were creative people. Jayne was working on her book at the time. She'd actually signed her deal with a publisher at that point. So, I think they were fond of that idea. We had other friends in businesses in the town, gallery owners and cafe owners and things like that. So they were able to share with them, like, I think you'll like the new owners or potential new owners at that point. So, it was a lovely experience with them, actually. It was lots of goodwill.
There's a bit of custodial care, I think, that can come with some businesses, and it doesn't have to be any particular type of business. I've done a lot of work with owners in regional areas, and they might understand that that's a vital business in the community, and it needs to be sustained. They almost feel guilty not being there.
Yeah, there's a responsibility. Yeah, I think if you go into any business that you like, anything that's good, there's a lot of heart in that business, and that's from the people that own the place and then the people that work there. And so I can imagine handing over our bookshop now to someone. There's so much heart in that shop.
Yeah.
So you want that to be held in some way, that spirit of that place. I think they understood straight away that we knew what the shop was and what its potential might be.
Yeah, that's excellent. And on today's Small Business Banter Community Radio and Podcast, I'm talking with Matt Davis, who's a co-owner of the Bookshop at Queenscliff, with wife Jayne and daughter Frankie. Now, just to kind of change tack a little, Matt, can you kind of step us through how you went? You saw the ad, you got excited. This is it. We're away. What did you do next in terms of kind of taking a step back, if that's what you did? Is this a really good idea? Is it a business that will actually sustain us? What do I need to talk to some professional advisors?
First thing was to try and convince Jayne just to consider it for a minute, because she thought it was the craziest thing she'd ever heard. Just try it on, imagine being the owners of the place. Then reaching out to the owners and saying, okay, I'm interested in this. We're interested in this. Some basic questions like, what's the profit profitability of a shop like this in a town like this.
Did they have it? Were they selling it themselves or using? No, they weren't using a business broker.
There was no agent. It was private.
Yeah, it was just so you had to more or less you had to find a time to talk to whoever the owners were.
Yeah, we did a Zoom. Yeah, I did a Zoom with one of the owners and chatted about it and sort of got into the details pretty quickly. Actually,
right.
This is how much turnover is generally. They had good records. There's a great software program that a lot of bookshops use that have really really accessible.
Pretty hard to fudge.
Yeah,
that.
Sure. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I had no qualms about that either. Like their good faith was clear.
Yeah.
So transparent with everything.
Yeah.
So we had just great chats. Got an idea of the turnover. Got an idea of how much they were asking for.
Was that a sale where they said we want X dollars and then you talk, or was it something? It's for sale. Let's kind of work out what makes sense. How did
they were here's the what it does. This is what we want. There's a stock component, of course, as well. That's part of a sale. So that's a sizable sort of part of any retail operation, I guess, but particularly a bookshop. We're carrying sort of 5,000 or 6,000 books. So there's a stock element. There's the rest, which is, I guess, furniture and goodwill. And here are the figures, and over to you, kind of thing. So you got access to it and started to do your own analysis, and I'm assuming and keeping in mind that you had, if you wanted to buy a business for maximum dollars with potential to grow 10x, this may not have been that, but you weren't looking for something like that. So, but was it a case of saying, well, it needs to sustain, the three of us, so and allow time for creating music, writing books, family stuff. So it was a bit more humble than that. Even it wasn't. It needs to sustain three of us. It kind of needed to sort of kick out a salary. I thought that was for one.
Yeah. Okay.
I figured I could run it myself. Without bothering Jayne with it. Jayne still had copywriting clients, as I still have a client as well. So we had that income.
Yeah, okay.
We dropped off a little bit, but we did have that. So I wasn't like, okay, scratch everything. This has to pay for everything. It was just, this is.
It kind of fitted in with your overall financial picture.
Yeah, the whole package. Yeah, exactly. In it, the sort of most negative way I could put it, the crudest way, is that I bought myself a job. Like that. But that's not true. But that's probably the worst reading of it you could make. But it's not. It's not that untrue in a way. It's become a bigger operation than that.
Yeah.
And I know that's a term that people don't like in small business.
Well, mainly a lot of business opportunities get knocked on the head because it's only a job. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
And we all want a job, and we all want to, do things that we want to do. And just because it makes the last earner just a wage, I actually don't, I question whether that we overlook a lot of good opportunities, because already you're finding yourself in a, you're probably doing better than that, but you got started with a kind of lower level aspiration for it.
I mean, this becomes philosophical for me. It's a philosophical discussion, really, because that's why I said at its crudest level you would say that I bought myself a job, but I bought myself, if that's true, I bought myself a job with real meaning for me and for our family and for the town, and from that, it's grown into much more than that, both economically and sort of in meaning. What I mean to say by saying that is it was very humble. It was just like, this will kick out a bit of money, and it will give us stability. The kid will just thrive being in this town, and from here, Jayne can still write. I can do music. We've got this fluidity, but there's this base that's really secure in something we really believe in. It's not It's not. We're not just selling knickknacks. It's like this is something we truly believe in books, and it's such a deep level. I don't mean to overstate it, but we really do. Books are magic. Books can change your life. Books are ideas. So here's this thing that is super humble, but we truly believe in, and is going to kick out some money and provide all these other things. That's for me. That is gold, and that's why we did it. We, we did think about it a lot. We tossed and turned about it, went back and forth. Jayne, some days she was like, "Yeah, we should do it," and I was like, "I don't know," and we sort of flipped between the two, and then eventually I just pulled the trigger and said, "Let's do it. Let's try it."
Yeah, look, it's wonderful, and I think having that. The approach you had meant you took time and you did reflect and you went back and forward and you didn't rush at it. And were you still in?
We're still in France.
Still in Paris while you
we bought it from France. Yeah, it was all done online over the phone.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. It was. It just reminded me. I had a conversation a little while ago with a business coach and. Quite a progressive in the way he thinks about things. He doesn't call himself a coach; he calls himself an educator. But flipping around, why are you in business? How much do you actually want? How much do you actually need out of this business? Because there's this, mentality prevailing through a lot of, it's pushed out that you've got to be growing. And so, I just like this idea that there is, along the lines of what you described. A more balanced reason for being in business. And
that's the thing about regional businesses. This is the opportunity that lies here in the regions is, firstly, you don't need as much money.
Yeah. Ex-housing. That is potentially, something that that comes up from time to time and, around... you've got to live, but I take your point.
Yeah. Well, you're not spending an hour and 2 hours in the car commuting every day. You're not spending all that money on fuel. And you're getting all this time back. You're getting time with your family. You're giving your kids, like we've given this kid the most idyllic childhood, and that they can never take that away from her. She's got that forever. I just think we have this. If you go for meaning over money. We need money, of course. You need things to work.
We do.
But we placed a really high value on meaning, and that has paid off in such huge ways for us. Not only in meaning, but also in economically. Both things have come in such a strong way. And I guess my soapbox to your listeners would be, look, there's opportunity out here, and if you keep your targets low maybe to start and you can build something. Here I am sitting now 3 years down the track and I go, okay, we've built something now. And now I'm thinking expansion. Now I'm thinking we could use for more floor space. We can do improvements to the shop. There's lots of things we can do now. But these 3 years have been gentle despite COVID. Yeah, it's humble. We've built something. We're sustained. We're not making heaps of money, but who needs heaps of money really when you've got a really happy kid and your wife's happy, she's writing her book, she's doing her thing. I still get to do music.
Yeah.
We get to have everything, and that's the potential, I think, of these towns.
Yeah.
Like you can.
We were chatting just before, and we've only got a couple of minutes left, but we were chatting about Beechworth, which I'm heading to, and some of the wonderful, food, entertainment, hospitality-based things happening up there. So and we've had many guests on the show over the years from regional places right across the country, and the opportunities are there, and it's I guess it's underpinning the reason why I wanted to have a chat today, Matt, was that you did it, and I love it that you did it from Paris.
Yeah.
But, there was a few things that fell into place and you were looking. And so in closing, what's your advice to either an employee somewhere in a big crowded place or perhaps even a business owner who's thinking about moving physically to and looking at other businesses to buy? Your sort of top couple of bits of advice for them to close out.
I think more people are doing it. I think there's a population shift away from the cities. I don't think the cities are sustainable. There's lots of opportunities and lots of people, but there's also lots more people.
Yeah.
And so I think people are looking for a gentler. Well, speaking for myself, we wanted a gentler life. We lived in a huge city.
Yeah. So listen to if you're being told that by yourself, listen to that
Lifestyle. Yeah. Time with your children.
Yeah.
Like they're only kids for so long, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
I think, if you really were a keen business person, there's just so much opportunity out here. You open a good deli in a town like ours, you'll be so busy.
Yeah.
Because people are starved for good businesses and quality, and people are getting out of town for holidays. This summer was so huge down here.
Yeah, it was escaping. It was monstrous, but I think what I took away from you was you were actively looking, and you did go through a sensible, it's a terrible word, but process to evaluate the business. You went about asked the right questions. So
you want to be clear-headed about these things. I think you want to do your due diligence, but I also think for us there was a lot of instinct. There was a lot of and we really listened to that.
And you were at least in an industry you had some exposure to. Matt, I think we'll have to close it up, but we'll look for another opportunity to get together and talk more about this regional stuff, because I think you've done it, and we can share some more gold.
Sure, with pleasure.
Thank you very much, Matt Davis from the Bookshop at Queenscliff.
Thanks a lot.
All the best. So that is all for today's episode of Small Business Banter. I continue to be inspired, bringing you small business experts and other small business owners and hearing their stories. If you want to listen to any past episode, jump onto your podcast platform of choice and search Small Business Banter. There you will find a diverse and fascinating collection of small business owners and experts openly discussing and sharing their experiences. For any of the links, resources or information we've talked about on the show today, or to contact me, please head over to smallbusinessbanter.com, or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And it would be great to have you tune in the same time next week for another episode of Small Business Banter.